Bamboozle with this week's tournament report. Things are so hype right now because we have just made it through the Wallet Apocalypse. What is the Wallet Apocalypse? The Wallet Apocalypse is what just happened with all of this Legion stuff, and Legion just came in like a storm. Now, there is so much stuff that is now viable between Fighters Collection and the trial decks and the extra boosters. There is so much stuff right now. Everything is just flying around. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And until we get through 16 and 17 and start getting the G trial decks, no one knows what is really going to happen. This makes DMV just this boiling pot for so much madness. I am so hyped right now. I have been hyped for like the entire weekend. And then we got Thanksgiving this week, so this is going to be insane. Alright, so let's go right into this week's tournament report. Try to keep up because I'm going to go a little bit fast and I got a lot of stuff to cover. Because I'm not just talking about my tournament report, I'm talking about everybody that I got reports from. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about Mizu, Queen, T-Cube, and me. Alright, here we go. I was running Seekers with Brutus and Wingle. Why was I not running D-Robots? Because you know what, with all this Legion stuff, I really felt like I need to try this out to figure out how this works, so that way I'm not just like, oh, well, what do I do? No, now I know. I have seen what it's like to be on the giving end of Legion, because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end. Now I get some ideas about how it plays, what they need, what they don't need. And the Brutus Legion is my favorite, honestly. Besides, you know, obviously the D-Robo Legion. Like, come on now. But we don't get that till like, you know, March, May, February. No, not February. Anyway, so I was running Brutus Seekers. Made it with trial decks, Brutus, and some spare Royal Powder parts I had lying around. Big thanks and shout out to Queen for letting me borrow 3 of his perfs because quintents were not working in that. I tried. I really did. I tried it testing and it just went yeah! And I still don't have a starter, so yes, I went through the entire tournament with a non-retreating starter. But it looked badass. Anyway, so I was running Brutus Seekers. T-Cube was running Gold Paladin, combining the Legion and the Fighters Collection unit. Liberator. It was actually pretty intense. He's really excited because after DMV, when set 16 hits, he's going to be running full Bluish Flame, but that's not here yet. And Queen played tonight. He has not hit it this hard in a minute. Guess what he played? 3 guesses. First 2 don't count. That's right. He played the Pale Moon Legion. People said it couldn't work. People said it was just kind of meh, but he made that stuff nutty. He made Pale Moon Legion plus the Fighters Collection Bunny Beast Tamer, which everyone thought was meh, and he made that go nuts. And he comboed that with a full Silverthorn base, which was insane. He just took out the 10k attackers, which he wasn't running anyway. He took out the Irenes, which were kind of meh, and he took out the 12k attackers, because those are the only things that required a Silverthorn Vanguard. Everything else was just needs to counterblast Silverthorn, and with Silverthorn triggers, and with most of the grade ones being Silverthorn, everything was insane. The only non-Silverthorns in the deck were the innie outie thingy. You know what I'm talking about? Not Zelma, but you know what I'm talking about, not the generic Zelma, and the mate and the grade 3s. Awesome deck. Mizu was running Great Nature. He was testing Legion plus Break Ride. Ran into some stuff with that. I'm going to get into that later. All right. So now let's jump right in with round 1. Round 1, Mizu took on Shadow Witches. Great Nature versus Shadow Witches. It was a loss. It was hard, but you know what? He got grade stuck. And then he found out in game 2 that just the Legion doesn't work with the Break Ride. Well, the Legion works. The Break Ride works, but not together. And whenever that happened, he ended up sitting on the Break Ride for too long. He lost too many rear guards, and he just couldn't do anything. So that was really hard. He lost. Queen got a bye in round 1, which coming later is really funny, because he made top. He actually came in 2nd place. Shh, I'll get into that later. But it was really insane that he, like, even getting the bye, his tiebreakers were good enough that he took it all. T-Cubed took on a Shadow Paladin deck being piloted by White Steve, good friend of ours. He was using an Abyss plus Raging Form, plus Break Ride. Yeah. T-Cube managed to pull that out. White Steve got great stuff on Grade 2 8K that calls from the deck. Name escapes me right now. But, yeah, getting stuck on that. Then in Game 2, it was just... He guarded early, and by the time that he got to deal with Abyss, he was only at 2 damage. He was able to eat that, and White Steve didn't have another Grade 3 to ride over. And that's the thing with Abyss. It's only live the turn you Legion. It happens. I took on Angel Feather. The Angel Feather Legion is nutty. That thing hits huge numbers. I hope that my opponent from this week reworks their deck around and that deck is a little bit more efficient next week. That thing was insane. Powerful deck. I guarded early, and by the time she was hitting really big numbers, I was able to just eat it. So yeah, I got the win, T-Cube got the win, Queen got the win, Mizu got the loss. Anyway, so round 2. Round 2, Mizu took on Glendios. He won that. Locking was difficult to deal with. World's End, scary, but Glendios is kind of last season's boss. Well, now it's 2 seasons, but we're a season behind, so you know what I mean. Glendios can't really keep up with this, primarily because besides World's End, Glendios' other mechanic is using Lock to stall out the opponent and outlast them and wait for the opponent to deck out. You can't, reliably wait for your opponent to deck out when they have Legion, because how many times they can keep throwing stuff back in the deck. So being able to outlast really came in handy for Mizu right there. Queen, for round 2, took on me. Oh, dear God, the numbers. The numbers. On his explosion turn, all 3 of Queen's columns were hitting for 40k and up. I had a horrible time. I had a horrible time. That thing hit numbers. For those of you who don't know what the Pale Moon Legion does, it's slightly Luquier on crack. Slightly. And the mate is essentially an Upright Lion. Oh yeah, did I mention he also runs Upright Lion? That thing got huge. So yes, oh dear God, the numbers. T-Cubed for round 2 took on a Kagero deck that was just all the overlords. You had Dope, you had Break Ride, you had the Rebirth. Being piloted by one of the best players in our shop, one of the most consistent players, and just, it was insane. The triggers, the pressure, just consistently being able to restand every single turn through some way, shape, and form. Break Riding Dote leads to attacking rear guards, and then attacking Vanguard, and restands, and then riding Rebirth over that leads to Rebirth effect, or if you go for Dote first because you don't get the Break Ride, and then you ride over Dote when you get to 4 with the Rebirth, and then Rebirth effect, it just, where else is he going to throw the triggers? Guarding 2 pass is borderline pointless against that deck. Anyway, yeah, T-Cubed got the loss there. And I told you I lost to Queen. So round 2, Mizu got the win, Queen got the win, T-Cubed and I both got losses. It was kind of intense there. Then we move on to round 3. Now there's only 3 rounds this week. Kind of frustrating. Would have liked it if there were more people. We could have had more rounds. Actually, if I'd lost my game, there would have been a 4th round, but I didn't. Yay! Mizu took on T-Cubed, which was funny. From Mizu's perspective, it was just, this was the game where he actually used his Legion instead of trying to Break Ride. So going for the Legion led to a lot of pressure and just doing things. He like, everything started to flow. naturally. Anyway, that game went really intensely. This is the game where Mizu also started to pay attention to his columns and count the stages and apply a lot of pressure to his opponent's hand, and he managed to get that win out. From T-Cube's perspective, T-Cube has no idea how to play the Great Nature matchup, because the Great Nature matchup is something that still baffles him. It baffles a lot of us, honestly, but that's something he came into this really looking to work through. He's very proud of himself with the amount that he whittled through his opponent's hand, and that is very, very impressive. But he just wasn't able to guard through all of that pressure. He wasn't really trying to win. He was just trying to play the resource game and figure out how to cut off the opponent's resources. And there was one point in which, in that game, a lamp camel hit for 30k plus. That's a huge lamp camel, and you know what? That's hitting. I don't care. That's hitting. I refuse to perfect guard a lamp camel unless I'm at 5 damage. I'm sorry. Anyway, so on to that. Queen took on the dope Break Ride Rebirth Kagero Conglomerate Overlord matchup that was the bane of everyone else's existence, and he won because restands may be really, really scary, and Overlord may be really consistent, but the numbers, oh dear God, the numbers. That being said, I took on Shadow Witches, same Shadow Witches that Mizu took on in round 1. Really powerful deck, honestly. It came down to some misplays. I had to fight really hard for that. Being able to guard early and use Legion to reload my triggers paid off a lot because they were pulling my triggers out of my deck. So being able to throw them back in the deck helped. And just guarding early so I could eat the damage. Because I'm telling you right now, that Legion that makes you lose 5 for every grade 0 on your field, that hurts. I was at negative 9k. Do you know what it's like to guard when you're at negative 9k? Neither did I, because I was at 2 damage before this happened, so I just kind of ate it. Anyway, so that happened, and at round 3, Mizu won, T-Cube lost, Queen won, and I won. So going into top, it became Queen against Queen using his Pale Moon against Witches, and me using my Seekers against the Kagero Conglomerate thingy that was so scary. For Queen, he got the win in top round 1. His opponent got grade stuck. So by the time his opponent made it to grade 3, he kind of just legioned and being able to play around his opponent's legion effects was really funny. He made sure he didn't have any zeros in the drop unless he was going to legion that turn, which gets really, really insane, actually, because then a lot of this stuff doesn't go off, and being willing to play over his own things in order to get the zeros off the field and build the columns, and his ability to superior call really made a huge difference in that game. For me, I took on the Kagero Overlord thing. I misplayed so hard, it made my face hurt. Restands are dumb, and so is Kagero. I know I'm going to get lots of flames for this. Get it? Flames, because Kagero, flame dragons. Anyway, yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kagero is one of my worst matchups. Not just even the decks I play, but me as a player, because a lot of times I don't know how to respond to that. For the final top 2, Queen took on the Dote of the Overlord. He lost. Again, it was being piloted by one of the best players at our shop, and he, even though he wasn't using Legion, he knows a lot about Legion and was able to outplay a lot of Legion decks he faced tonight. His primary strategy was guarding early, so when the Legion effects happened, he was able to no guard and conserve hand, at which point the numbers that Robbie was hitting didn't matter, because by the time Robbie was exploding with his unguardable numbers, his opponent was at 2 damage. and the triggers weren't flowing, and restands plus lots of triggers really, really hurt. So final thing, Queen came in second place. I came in, we never fought for third and fourth because prize was really minimal at that point. So I'm going to say third because I beat the guy who lost to Queen. So I'm going to say I came in third. So yeah, final thoughts for this tournament. Mizu's big thing was the brake ride doesn't fit. The brake ride really clogs. Sitting on the brake ride doesn't help. Like, the brake ride effect is brutal. And if and when they get a limit break enabler, that can be viable. But at this point, when he has to sit on it and his opponent can dance around the limit break, that's hard. He really needs to find another backup grade 3 for that deck because the Legion is very, very powerful. And if he doesn't get there, he can't really get away with running just 4 grade 3s. So there has to be something else in there. Queen, he came in second place. He was happy with his performance. Frustrated with the final game against Overlord. And he beat the guy in the regular match, but then lost to him on top. Very frustrating. But yeah, T-Cubed, his big thing was he essentially slapped the Legion in a for fun deck that wasn't completed or optimized. The deck had a lot of tech cards, and it wasn't very solidly built. The deck was not built for competitive play, which, I mean, he did amazing, all things considered. A lot of that came down to player skill because the deck was kind of falling apart and tripping all over itself. But yeah, the deck needs more testing for him. It's not a primary focus. In case you didn't get it from his DMV call-out video, T-Cube's big thing is going to be Halcyon. So this was just for fun. A lot of us tonight were playing Legions because we wanted to get a feel for it before we get back to focusing on our mains. And I wanted to play Brutus forever. For me, Legion's powerful. It's very, very powerful. The ability to reload triggers, the ability to be halfway through the game, have healed twice, be in a bad position, look at my drop, look at my hand, and realize all 4 of my heal triggers are in the deck. That's huge. Being able to look around and realize, okay, it is halfway through the game, I have checked 6 triggers, and I know that only 2 of those triggers are out of the deck. So, as I'm wearing through everything else, as I'm superior calling, as I'm drawing, as I'm damage checking, and I'm putting the triggers back, there's a chance of them being there. Now, I'm really wondering for you guys, how many of you guys had those Gaillard Kai games where it's like heal, heal, critical, heal, critical, heal, critical, heal, critical, heal, draw, critical, heal, draw. Oh no, all 4 of them are on the field, not in the deck. Playing with Legion helped me get a better understanding of how it works. I would really suggest for those of you who are not planning to run a Legion deck as your main for DMV or any other big tournaments, I would suggest taking the time to actually sit down and test out a Legion deck. So you see what it's like to be on that end, and you get an idea of how to shut the decks down, because they can be beaten. The thing with Legion decks is they're very Vanguard-centric. Yes, Vanguard's huge, but the thing is, your rear guards are very powerful. So knowing that when there are columns that you need to get out of the way, and learning what each of the Legions do so you can learn how to play around them is really, really key. Shadow Witches are powerful, but if you know what to do, you can play around them. I plan to jump back to my D-Robos. Gonna get a deck profile up eventually of the D-Robos. Also, I got some videos recorded this weekend. Gotta get them patched together because phone ran out of memory in the middle of recording and had to stop and delete stuff and get back to recording and all that stuff. So you're gonna have that up of me flailing like a small baby against other decks with my D-Robos. So look forward to that. It's your homeboy Nagamuzu coming at you from the Jin's Lamp, telling you I'm gonna see you on the horizon. So peace out, like, comment, subscribe for more card fight madness.